ignore the tractor rolling by my street because I live in a small farm town. You done? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Holly, this is She Reads, and today I am going to be doing another She Writes Stories with you. So a while ago on my channel, I started a series called She Writes Stories with You, where I went through this book, 642 Things to Write About, and we picked a different topic to write about. I often do this when I'm getting like writer's block, or I just like can't really focus on my work in progress. I turn to one of these and it just kind of helps to shift my mind somewhere else. I bang out a quick story and it kind of just like gets me more into the creative spirit. So I will read to you the one that we left on last time. So I randomly went through this book and just picked something with my eyes closed, and the topic was find a world map or globe, close your eyes, pick a spot, write about a person arriving there for the first time. So that is what I did, and the spot that I picked on my map was China. I also just want to say this, is that this story is very unpolished, unedited. It might sound like there might be grammar mistakes, there might be all kinds of mistakes, but I just banged this story out really quickly. And that's kind of just what this is intended to do. This is not to be like a polished, perfect story. It's just to kind of get my mind off of, you know, my work in progress and onto something else for a little bit and kind of distract me, so to speak. So I would love it if you guys would do this with me. At the end of this video, I'm going to randomly pick another topic from this book, and if you guys want to do it with me, send me in your stories and maybe I will read it in my next video. So without further ado, I'm just going to get right on into my story. The heat was almost unbearable. Mika hadn't intended on visiting China, but due to an overcrowded airplane and her bad luck conspiring against her, here she was. Luckily, she had made friends with the man sitting next to her on the previous flight, and he had offered to take her to her hotel and get her settled in for the evening. He was an American businessman named Darren who had been living in China for the last 3 years, and he had at least managed to master the language by then. Mika was relieved when she stepped into Darren's car and felt the cool breeze of the air conditioning over her. It had to be at least 35 degrees out. She didn't do that kind of heat. She was from Toronto. Darren made his way out of the airport parking lot, and they were soon on their way. As they weaved in and out of traffic, Mika began to notice an oddity everywhere she looked. It seemed as though everyone were preparing for a party. Large tables of food laid out everywhere, and pop-up stages were being built on seemingly every corner. The streets were packed with people. Everyone busy, no one idle. They passed a few people burning something in small bowls, and crowds gathered as they did so. The air was thick with smog and anticipation. What's going on out there? Mika asked, confusion spreading along her finely lined forehead. Oh, you're in luck. Your flight delay comes at one of the most important days in China. Darren pointed out the car window to a particularly large stage setup. The Hungry Ghost Festival. Mika scoffed. The what? The Hungry Ghost Festival. You've never heard of it? Mika shook her head. It's very famous. I thought everyone knew what it was, even Canadians, he laughed. Mika looked at him quizzically. Nope, never heard of it. Ah, well, you're in for a treat then. According to ancient Chinese tradition, on this day of every year, the gates of hell are opened up and hungry ghosts are free to roam the earth in search of food and entertainment. These ghosts are the ancestors of those who have forgotten to pay proper tribute to them after they died. Families offer prayers, food, and burn hell money, a valid currency in the underworld, in order to help their loved ones live more comfortably in the underworld. People also pay tribute to any other unknown wandering ghosts so that they won't intrude on their lives and bring bad luck. Mika stared at him in disbelief. You can't be serious. People don't really believe that. They do. It's the most famous festival. It's the most famous festival in the country. Those stages you see being built out there, they're for live shows intended to entertain the ghosts. They will wait to put the shows on until late tonight. Then they'll play loud music in hopes of attracting the ghosts. They'll leave the front row open for them, and there will be a huge feast with offerings. Mika was quiet a moment, trying to figure out whether Darren was messing with her. He looked serious, though. So, you mean to tell me that in this day and age of iPhones and Netflix, people put out offerings for ghosts? Darren smiled. Yep. Even the shops will be closed today in order for the ghosts to have their run of the streets. Mika shook her head. Wow, that is unbelievable. Darren turned the air down slightly, the cool air beginning to chill them both. Believe what you want, my friend, but if I were you, I'd put a plate of chicken out or something outside your hotel room door tonight as long as you're here. Oh, come on. You actually believe this crap too? And here I thought you were a level-headed businessman. Darren smiled as he slowed down and turned the car into Mika's hotel parking lot. It's because I'm a smart, level-headed businessman that I tell you this. Things are different here. My first festival, I thought the same as you. But now, I've had too many experiences not to believe. The conversation closed as he got out of the vehicle and grabbed Mika's bags. He helped her get checked into the hotel and set up a shuttle car service for her the following day to get her back to the airport. Good luck, friend, he waved as he turned back to his vehicle, and Mika made her way to her room. The hotel room was small and stuffy. Mika went to the window, opening it wide only to find there was no breeze. She went to the air conditioning unit and tried to turn it on. Nothing happened. After several minutes, she gave up and decided to call the front desk and ask about it. The receptionist spoke enough broken English to be able to inform her that the unit was broken and could not be fixed until next week. Finally, Mika gave up and ordered room service. A good meal, a cool shower, and a nice long sleep, and she would be back on the road toward home in no time. 2 hours, one movie, and one proper Chinese meal later, and Mika had fallen fast asleep. The TV played on in the background as the hours drifted late into the night. Finally, through a sleep-induced haze, a noise began to pull her from slumber. She struggled for several minutes in a half-awake, half-asleep state, trying to figure out where she was and what was that noise that was seeming intent on waking her. Eventually, she came to and realized there was a woman screaming on the TV. An 80s horror flick had been dubbed over in Chinese and was now penetrating her hotel room. Sleepily, she found the remote and turned the TV off. The dimly lit clock at her bedside table read 3:47 a.m. She rolled over and tried to drift off back to sleep for a couple more hours before she had to get up for her flight home. She was almost asleep when a loud scream pierced her ears in the darkness. Confused, she shot up in bed and looked at the TV. It was still off. She lay in the darkness a while longer, listening intently, trying to figure out what the scream was and whether it was in her imagination or not. Another minute, another scream. This time, a man's voice. Micah lay still, frozen in fear. Why are people in this hotel room screaming? Another one sounded. This time, Micah jumped out of bed and ran to the hotel room door. She stood on her tiptoes and peeked out of the peephole. She couldn't make anything out. Slowly, she slid the lock chain and creaked the door open, just as another scream penetrated the darkness. A shadowy white figure with long, dark hair seemed to glide out of her neighbor's room and began heading across the hall. Mika's heart stopped. The figure, as if sensing it had been seen, stopped and looked in Mika's direction. Horror drained the color from her face as Mika realized what she was seeing. The black, stringy hair fell in clumps in front of the shadow figure's pale face. The eyes were jet black, with no pupils at all, and razor-sharp teeth crowded the mouth, which dripped blood. Mika screamed and was forced to make a split decision. She knew in an instant the figure was going from room to room, collecting sacrifices, of which she hadn't made any. Her room was next. Mika flung open the door and ran down the hallway as fast as she could. If she could just get to the lobby or outside, she would be fine. In an instant, she felt herself being pursued. She ran past the door after door and realized halfway down the hall that most of these doors were open, but there were no sounds coming from any of the rooms. The hotel was completely silent. Taking the stairs rather than risk an elevator, Mika ran without looking back. Down, down, down. She almost tripped several times, scrambling to get away from her unseen pursuer, until finally she burst through the lobby door. There, she was met with a horrible sight. A massacre, for lack of a better word. The lifeless bodies of the hotel staff were haphazardly placed around the room. Blood covered every surface, and the night air was thick with silence. Micah let out another loud scream and almost turned to run back where she had come from when she felt a hot breath on the back of her neck. Startled to realize the hungry ghost had caught up to her, she propelled herself forward and ran through the gruesome scene before her. Finally, she burst out of the front hotel doors and felt the cool night air splash against her face. She ran across the street and finally collapsed after realizing that she was no longer being pursued. After several minutes trying to catch her breath, Mika looked up. Everywhere, as far as she could see in any direction, was completely still. The bustling, incredible city was at a standstill. There was not a person in sight. Vehicles were jammed into roadways, driverless, none running. Mika began to panic at the thought of being out here all alone with no one to call for help. Her frenzied mind began to weigh her options. If she could just find some way to the airport, she could just go home and forget any of this had ever happened. The entire city couldn't be dead like this, right? It was at that moment Mika realized with horror that she had not taken anything from her hotel room with her. Her purse, her phone, and her plane ticket and passport were all in the hotel room. She had just fled, and that the only way she had a chance of leaving this city was to go back in. The end. So this one leaves on a little bit of a cliffhanger. As I was writing this, I was kind of getting to think like this would be interesting, kind of maybe stretch it into maybe a novella or something, like kind of go a little bit further in depth with it. But that's what these stories are about. They're just like quick little stories to kind of, you know, get your interest on something else. So now we are going to pick our next topic, and I'm just going to close my eyes, flip through the book, and just pick something. Everyone was laughing except you. Okay, so that is our topic for the next installment in this series. Everyone was laughing except you. So I would absolutely love it if some of you guys would do this with me and send me the stories that you can come up with from this topic. I would love to read them, and I would love to share them on my channel. In any case, I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I hope you enjoyed my story and this video. Leave me a comment down below letting me know whether or not you're going to be participating in this. I would love to read some of your guys' stories. Hope you're having an awesome day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!